What it means to be successful as a freelance developer is when you've built enough of a reputation that people come to you, enough people come to you that you don't have to spend barely any time at all trying to find clients, because people come to you and you've built enough authority that people are willing to pay you a lot of money for your time. Now, the question is, how do you go from being a nobody in that field where no one knows you to having enough of a reputation that you have an abundance of clients willing to pay you a lot of money, and how you get there as fast as possible? And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're starting out is they're focusing too much on how to get their first clients, how to approach different companies to get them to work with them, and they're not worrying about making sure that that client that they get and the next clients they get will talk about you to other of their friends and get you more clients. Yes, it's good if you're good at convincing people that you're worth a lot of money and that you're good at approaching companies, because it takes you less time to get clients in the short term. But the problem is you're not getting closer to the point where you're a successful freelancer, where you have an abundance of clients coming to you. What you need to do instead is not just be good at finding your initial clients, but also get good at making sure that they get your future clients for you. And the way you do that is by understanding how word of mouth works and how to leverage it in a market. What you see a lot of people do is they go on Upwork and they start applying to all these different jobs. And yes, you do get a bunch of jobs, but all these people, they're in different markets. They can talk to some of their friends, refer them to you, but here's where the network effect really starts getting interesting. Is if you start working with a lot of different entrepreneurs who are in the same city, who are in the same area, what happens is that if there's an entrepreneur, one of his friends talks about you, he's going to be more likely of wanting to do business with you if he needs a website. But when it really gets interesting is when many persons tells him about you and tells him that you did a good website. The more people they know that tell them about you, the more they're going to be likely of being interested. The essence of marketing is that you want to make people feel that people like them have done the thing that you want them to do and have gotten the results they want to get doing that. So you want to make people understand that people like them, people they identify with, have done business with you and have gotten good results. We identify with people who are like us. We identify with our friends, people who believe things are similar to us. That's why we're friends with them. But we also identify with people who have similar businesses to ours. The problem a lot of freelancers have is they try to find companies to work for that are in vastly different fields. Even if all you're doing is in the city of Chicago, like all these people theoretically could be in contact with each other. If you're contacting like stonemasons, gardeners, movie theater, an influencer, if the influencer tells his stonemason friend that he's hired this developer, which is you, and that you've done a really good job, you've made a new website that allows them to get more clients, the guy who's a stonemason is like, okay, it works for him, for his business, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. My business is different. Try to work with companies that are similar as possible. For example, you could focus on gyms, you could focus on construction companies, because that creates that effect that people identify with other people's stories because they see, okay, he's like me and he's done X thing, which is hire that developer, and he's gotten this result that I want. Therefore, since I am like him, I have a high likelihood, if I hire that person too, to get a similar result. Maybe you're in India and maybe in Denmark, for example, you might make more money because they pay more per hour. That's completely fair, but you don't want to send proposals to people anywhere, in Denmark. You want to treat your freelance business as if it was working in a local market. As much as possible, you want to start working with people who are close to each other. If you're trying to just use the internet randomly, you don't tend to develop the community effect because you're just contacting businesses in different areas that don't communicate with each other and don't allow you to get that word of mouth effect that gets you clients pretty much automatically coming to you, already trusting you, and already believing that your time is worth paying a lot of money for. And one important thing that you need to consider is that there's a lot of types of businesses that you could try to work with as a freelancer. But some of them don't have a lot of money. They don't make a lot of money. They're not willing to spend a lot of money for web developers. And one of the most important factors to being successful as a freelancer is knowing who to contact and trying to look for clients in the right industries. Thing is, doesn't really matter how good you are convincing people to give you a lot of money if they don't have a lot of money and they're not very interested in your product. But even if you kind of suck at selling your services, if you only contact people who have a lot of money and are very interested in websites, that's going to be way easier. So that's why it's really important to try to make sure that you work with the right types of companies. And if you want to see how to do that, just click here and go check out my playlist on the basics of how to find clients as a freelance web developer. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, because in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to share with you some really important tips about freelancing, and maybe you don't want to miss that. So I'll see you there.